Rutger Bregman, Utopia for Realists, How We Can Build the Ideal World. Welcome to a journey through Utopia for Realists, where author Rutger Bregman paints a provocative picture of the world we could build by embracing radical ideas and rediscovering our lost dreams. This book's summary explores the power of a universal basic income, challenges the validity of GDP as a measure of progress, and dives into reducing our workweek to maximize well-being. Prepare yourself for a thought-provoking exploration of what it truly means to live the good life in a time of material wealth.
Progress and the good life. Our world has experienced tremendous progress in the last century, compared to the centuries of little to no change prior. The economy has grown exponentially, technology is advancing at an unprecedented rate, and people are living more secure and healthy lives. However, despite these advancements, many people still feel dissatisfied with their lives, and we have forgotten how to dream big. We must consider what progress and living a good life in a time of material wealth truly mean. The power of unconditional cash. Give Directly, a charity organization, believes in giving cash directly to the poor without strings attached because they know best what they need. This approach is different from the conventional thinking of governments and NGOs that dictate what impoverished individuals require, such as cows, schools, or solar panels. Studies around the world confirm the effectiveness of this approach, showing that giving cash leads to a significant increase in income and asset ownership. Despite the entrenched belief that handouts breed laziness and vice, evidence suggests that cash recipients show a decline in alcohol and tobacco consumption while using their unexpected windfalls to invest in medicine, food, and small businesses. Poverty is not about bad decisions but about the lack of money. Universal Basic Income, a viable solution for poverty. Universal Basic Income, UBI, is a tax-funded scheme that provides a basic living wage to everyone without any conditions. Though it's not a novel idea, it gained traction when former President Richard Nixon suggested giving $1,600 per family annually. However, political opposition forced Nixon to abandon the idea. Today, UBI is deemed feasible. Some critics argue that it's unaffordable, but studies show that eradicating poverty in the U.S. would cost less than 1% of GDP. UBI's opponents also claim that it would encourage indolence. However, research indicates that only 9% of paid work was reduced when trials were conducted. Furthermore, young people and mothers of young children mostly accounted for it. UBI could instead help people make better decisions regarding education and investment. The innovations in technology and the rise of globalization pose a threat to job security in today's economy. Therefore, implementing UBI can be an effective tool to combat poverty and joblessness. All we need is to embrace a different perspective on how our economic system can work. Beyond GDP. The book questions the reliability of GDP as a measure of a nation's progress. It argues that GDP is flawed in measuring technological advances, benefits from human suffering, and doesn't consider leisure time as a factor. The book suggests a dashboard of measures that would work better than a single-figure GDP, which would include growth, financial investment, jobs, community service, environmental health, social cohesion, and leisure time. The case for a shorter workweek. In the 1930s, renowned economist John Maynard Keynes predicted that by 2030, we would have a 15-hour workweek. Although economic growth has skyrocketed, more consumption rather than more leisure has become the norm. However, studies show that shorter workweeks could have numerous benefits such as reducing workplace accidents, cutting stress, and promoting gender equality. In fact, countries with shorter workweeks have topped the charts in gender equality. Shorter workweeks allow individuals to focus on personal growth, spend time with family, and pursue hobbies. It is time to prioritize a shorter workweek for the benefit of society as a whole. Rethinking wealth-creating jobs. The book argues that some jobs bring wealth and prestige, but they don't create real value. It explains how two strikes, one by sanitation workers and another by bank employees, highlight the importance of different types of occupations. It calls for society to refocus on jobs that create real value and suggests higher taxes as a starting point. Do jobs that bring wealth and prestige create real value to society? In Rethinking Wealth-Creating Jobs, the author questions the value of some occupations that are considered hotshot jobs. The book examines how two different strikes in history, one by New York's sanitation workers in 1968 and the other by Ireland's bank employees in 1970, demonstrate the importance of different types of occupations. The New York sanitation workers' strike left the city knee-deep in refuse, with a declared state of emergency. It became apparent that society needs garbage men. In Ireland, the banks closed overnight, leading to some economic doomsday predictions. However, pubs and shops, well integrated into their communities, filled the void and provided an alternative financial system. The strikes highlight that while some form of financial system is needed, bankers themselves are not as necessary. The book argues that some jobs create little wealth, such as lawyers, who are in abundance in the United States. The country has 17 times as many lawyers per person as Japan, yet its legal system is not 17 times better. The author suggests that society should refocus on jobs that create real value to steer people away from high-paid but not socially beneficial occupations like banking toward roles with a more positive impact on society. The book also explores taxation as a means to refocus society on wealth-creating jobs. A Harvard study showed that income tax cuts under President Reagan led to a major shift in careers among the nation's academic elite. In the 1970s, more Harvard graduates were choosing research than banking, but 20 years later, the numbers had flipped. The book's conclusion is that higher taxes could steer people towards jobs that create real value. In conclusion, Rethinking Wealth-Creating Jobs challenges the value of some occupations and highlights the importance of different types of jobs in society. It recommends refocusing on jobs that create real value and suggests taxation as a starting point. Technology and the future of jobs. The impact of technology on jobs is a topic that has been debated for centuries. In the early 19th century, the Luddites rebelled against the introduction of machines that replaced skilled weavers. Today, fears that technology will destroy jobs still exist, and for good reasons. Job growth and productivity have decoupled in recent years, with technological change being one of the primary reasons. The continuous growth pattern predicted by Moore's law has led to staggering advances in computer technology that show no signs of slowing down. Globalization and technological growth have also made it possible for small groups of people to create vastly successful businesses, leading to the replacement of brainpower jobs as well. The consequences of these changes are significant, and it is essential to explore how we can tackle the challenges presented by this fundamental shift in our economy. Machines versus humanity. A potential tipping point in computing power and artificial intelligence could lead to major economic changes. Futurologist Ray Kurzweil predicts that computers will be as clever as people by 2029 and 1 billion times more intelligent than humanity by 2045. The consequences of such developments include rapidly growing inequality and a society divided between a small ultra-rich group and everyone else. The solution may lie in massive redistribution, rejecting the idea that we must all work for a living and implementing a global, progressive tax on wealth to combat the problem. Open borders, an inevitable solution to global poverty. The opening of national borders can help eradicate global poverty and promote economic growth. Various studies suggest that global economic growth could range from 67 to 147% if borders were opened. According to Harvard economist Lant Pritchett, opening borders to people could generate $65 trillion worldwide, while allowing free capital movement would only free up $65 billion. Despite this, the focus on trade and aid remains, while the potential benefits of open borders are overlooked. The elite of today are those born in the right country, with an American on the poverty line being in the richest 14% of the global population. The strength of national borders is a recent phenomenon. Before World War I, borders existed primarily as lines on maps, and countries that issued passports were seen as uncivilized. The real challenge is changing the way we think about national borders, and broadening the scope to create a more open and equitable world.
So, what have we learned from Rutger Bregman's Utopia for Realists? We've delved into the prospects of a universal basic income, supporting the notion that it has the potential to transform lives for the better. We've examined GDP as a flawed measure of progress, and considered alternative indicators that reflect true well-being. Furthermore, we've pondered a reduced work week, which can lead to increased levels of happiness, health, and even gender equality. Lastly, the book drives home the power of open borders and the massive economic growth they can bring. It's time to redefine our vision for progress and rediscover the beauty of dreaming big and audaciously.